Hey folks, welcome back. It's the WCS Montreal Open Qualifiers for Oceania and Southeast Asia, and we are going to do the other semi between Probe and Demi. And the winner of that will be facing up against Mia, who we just saw take down the Terran Azure. I'm pretty hyped for that. We swapped servers for something a little bit more favorable for these guys. Because Demi has some big issues, and our friend Probe has actually been training in Korea a little bit. So I suppose the question is, since both of these guys have had the opportunity to do that and spend some time there honing their skills, could this be the best match of the day? Maybe anyone got any
potentially? I think. Well, Pig and I were kind of talking about it a little bit before we got into the Korean server here, is that Probe is in Korea. So even though they're hosting on Taiwan, his ping is going to be really fantastic. And Demi loves, it's not going to be bad. I mean, he primarily practices on Korea and Europe, but there is going to be a ping advantage for Probe here. And I think giving Probe any kind of advantage at all is a pretty big mistake.
Yeah, that could be something which definitely potentially bites him there. Both players, of course, are going to be playing, though. I mean, I think Demi is probably so used to playing with a ping disadvantage, right? He's like, at this point, he's like, oh, I'm not playing the Australian server. I'm so happy. Like, this is great. You know, from India, it's such a long distance. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it spins out. Both players have, got that experience, right? You know, both were over at the Intel Extreme Masters Pyeongchang at the Winter Olympics earlier this year. Both have had a chance now to train in Korea over there in the Project Unity team house. So it's just a situation where these guys are very, very good. And I will make sure I'm not holding up the invite anymore by getting those privacy settings turned off. Server change is always fun. But yeah, they're both fantastic players. I think Probe still always comes into this as the favorite historically. He's the guy who took Neeb to a 5th map, last year when Neeb won every other WCS championship except that one. He's the guy who's taken down your Drogos, your TLOs, your consistent EU mainstay pro gamers at these big events. Demilov hasn't had that breakthrough performance yet.
No, and he's hungry for it too. I mean, Probe, he has won twice, come second twice, which are both still the seed to go overseas. And he's always top 8, basically. I can't even remember the last time he wasn't top 8. And like you said, Demi's still looking for that result. His best performance has actually been like 5th or 6th. He hasn't been able to break top 4, and I think that's definitely the next step for him. And we were talking about this a little bit in the break, but Demi has a lot of confidence in himself. He likes to go after the top players when he comes into WCS. He's always amped up to take them down. And we're sort of debating, like, is that a benefit to him to be that confident, or is it perhaps to his detriment?
Is it like the break from reality and like he's not seeing things objectively, or is it that necessary confidence that you need to play your best?
Exactly.
I guess we're gonna find out, aren't we?
Yeah. Pig and I will be bringing you this one while Maynard goes gets snack, keeps that cast energy intact. And we're gonna hop on Insane's cam once again. Shout out to him, who does not get a break, so he's always working the camera for us. So make sure you give him some love on the Twitters. And without further ado, in the bottom left of Lost and Found, this is Probe.
Having a good run so far, but so has this guy up here in the top right-hand side, weathering the storm against Crimson earlier and coming through in very nice fashion. The Red Zerg, it's Demilov. And big shout out, of course, to McDonald's for their sponsorship here of the WCS ANZ Oceanic Challenger. We've had a lot of great events this year and over the last few years, and it's been so good to see the scene kind of develop so many new faces. Personally, I'm still so excited to see Heart and Cedar and what they're going to bring out tomorrow. Excited, of course, to see who comes out at the top at the end of today. And I'm really keeping an eye on Risky's lower bracket run at the moment, because I really want to see Risky kind of come out and surprise everyone and smash it, playing from the UK to the Australian server, which is about as far as you can possibly be from the server that you're playing on.
Yeah, and I think he's made that choice because he's a New Zealander, right?
Yeah, New Zealand citizen.
Yeah, he's absolutely eligible to play in our region, but he actually has worse pings to other places. So apparently this is the lesser of all the evils for him to try and compete in. So that's a bit rough for him, but absolutely rooting for him as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully he can make a deep run.
Well, we are going to be getting into this match now as the gas is taken here for Probe. You know, Probe has just kind of gone, checked, seen a very standard opening from Demi. He's going to try and slow down that third base a little bit as well. So neither player really deviating from the norm right now. And I think what I'm most interested by, and speaking of Probe and other Protoss Pro gamers, is their attachment to Stargate openings. You know, it's so common. We're going to see one from Probe here. Cancels his Warp Gate research and does start a Stargate on the side of the map. But as I was saying, there seems to be a bit of an attachment to it, and I understand why. It's one of the most reliable ways to get information and play. But I definitely think there is always something to be said about keeping a Zerg off balance, throwing out some different tech choices, some different, styles here and there. We saw it, I think, with Fuely up against Iagos. The Archon drop opening on Dreamcatcher actually got into a very good position for Fuely, and it did, to me at least, feel like Iagos hadn't played against that as much. So I definitely think as much as you want the reliable scouting, the air harassment, sometimes there's something to be said for doing something that your opponent hasn't practiced against 4,000 times in the last 2 months.
Yeah, it can definitely be a good way to throw a spanner in the works. We'll see what comes out here, because I feel like Probe is a man of many builds, and he could pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
Against Demi here, I can't really say to myself, oh, Probe plays this style every time or something. He's just a very well-rounded player, and you know what? So is Demi. Actually, do you know, is Demi sticking with that Roach Hydra style against Protoss, or is he still like a Lingbane Hydra guy?
You know, it's interesting because he does shift back and forth a little bit. I think most recently, when I've seen him playing on the ladder, it seems to mostly be Roach Hydra style, which I think is the more, I guess, generic style. It is the one which struggles a little bit against the 2 Stargate Phoenix plays we've been seeing coming out. But
yeah,
Probe here going to be going Robo Twilight, so no doubt an Archon at charge lot pressure, and so far all things looking quite clean on both sides. A layer and extra gas is going down for Demi. I wonder if we'll see him try and skip that Roach Warren and go straight to those Hydras. And that style is pretty fantastic if you get away with it, but we saw the back and forth recently in the GSL versus the World Tournament in the finals between Stats and Serral, where it was very much, can you get to those Hydras? Nuh-uh, I'm going to try and punish you with the charge lot Archon.
Yeah.
And if that's done just right, you can usually knock over a Zerg. But hey, Roach Warren goes down, so it looks like Demi's playing safe.
Yeah, actually, personally, I find the Hydra approach a little spooky against the charge lot Archon. Because it's just, while your Hydras have amazing damage, you get a good position, the Protoss is going to get out of there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Charge lots just, they do so much damage. It's ridiculous. They just, because they close the distance and the Hydra needs a bit of buffer between themselves and the enemy units, that's really taken away from them. And if you're not in position, if you don't have quite enough, you'll really suffer. But keen to see how Demi approaches this. As you mentioned, he's made the Roach Warren, a few Roaches are now coming out. And similarly, we see that tech tree starting to take shape for Probe. He's already warping in his first couple of Archons here to go into that prism. And so Demi should be well prepared for defending against this harass.
Yeah, no real damage on either side. It's been very, very passive so far. So Archon drop finally comes in, but there's a Spore, a bunch of Queens ready. Creep is looking very healthy as well. There is an Observer out, so there we go. Finally, that Creep's starting to get worked on by Probe. And that's always very nice. Really limit the Protoss' control on the map. Just pick up when those Roaches come down, and of course, force Demi to respread that Creep. This also keeps Demilove a little bit off balance here, slightly nervous, and behind it, the Immortal starting to come out. The second Robo, the third getting fully saturated for the Protoss player, and a fourth base going down for Demilove. So gentlemanly. Both of these players kind of sipping tea above the battlefield. Like, no one's really trying to risk anything to hurt the other one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of respect shown between all the players so far in this tournament, I feel. Obviously, we've had a couple of more aggressive games, but when it's been macro, I mean, it's really been macro. they've really sat back and let each other have their space. Now, Probe is still trying to do things with this War Prism. It feels more like he's just threatening than committing to anything, because obviously there's a lot of units here. He's starting to pump out some Immortals behind this and get Storm. And once we've got that in the mix, things will start to look a little bit better for Probe in terms of if he wants to move out and start pressuring the fourth base, for example.
It's interesting as well, the base location that Probe did take his third at. Those Archons actually, wow, very ambitious. Really wants to slow down that creep. But now that Hydra's are out, I think Probe's just going to go home. You can't really stay on the map too long with the Archon drop once Hydra's around. Very dangerous. Thankfully, he doesn't get caught there. But yeah, his third base location is really cool. I don't think I've ever seen this for a Protoss. This is a harder base to take later on, I feel. But if you take it now and you actually find the point of contention is usually defending the fourth, well, look at this fourth. It's further back. It's a little bit easier to defend. They've got to break down the rocks to really open up the choke point to it. I think this makes defending your fourth base a lot easier. So I like this decision as Probe to do it this way. He's starting to branch off the Zealot counter, but oh my lord, he's got to be quick to run away. That's too many Roaches and Hydras. But hey, they're on move command, so not a bad start to the fight.
Yeah, lets half of them take the hit there and moves back, and he sees that the army's there, and they both kind of back off and be like, oh, secret's out, not really much point. And
Speaking of secrets being out, that observer sees
Yeah.
everything. Hey, oh, the drop, seeing it load up and the direction it goes. Talk about good scouting there for Probe. Are there any Overseers on the map? There's one. Where is that Overseer? Or two, actually. Oh, there we go. One spotted above the natural just now. But I don't know if Demilove actually realized.
Yeah, I'm not sure he does. And the War Prism is actually poised at the middle north of the map, ready to float in there. So he can similarly start doing a bunch of damage in Demi's main at the same time as this. The Adepts confirming that there's more headed across the map here from Demi. So let's see how he handles this, because he's already got Sentry, Immortal, and Templar over here at the fourth. The rest of the army sitting here at the third. And Demi's looking for the ideal spot to engage. These Overlords have been caught, and he does move them back towards the top left.
Yeah, right now the defense is rock solid. Probe's up at 70 probes. Has got +2 weapons on the way. The Immortal count is up to 8. 7 High Templar out. I feel like as Probe, you just want to add more cannons, more batteries, more High Templar here. And there's almost no way you can be broken. But hey, Lurkers are out.
Yep. Almost shaves off one there. His Archon's actually still getting hit by that one Lurker. And at the same time, big warp in up the top here is going to head that into the fourth base of Demi. Dropping a couple more Storms here. Not really able to close the distance on the Lurkers as Demi pokes in and out these spines. Gonna buy Demi a little bit of time here. Queen also going to help a bit while Demi runs home. The Warp Prism is going to move into the main, maybe? No, looks like he decided against that, but the fourth base has had to be evacuated.
Right now, Probe is playing super defensive and trying to get up to carriers, and I kind of respect that against Hydras and Banes, but I feel like against Roach Hydra, you got to get out there. Wow, luckiest Overlord in the world, man.
Literally one health.
Stargates, he's trying to go up to carriers, but I feel like Probe is being a little bit overly defensive here. There's no reason why when you defend that well, you can't push out on the map and start just exerting pressure. Definitely he's ahead on the tech, but no reason to give Demilove too much space here. Also, he's going to have to make sure he doesn't get caught by this rotation, but hey, I guess the Phoenix is prepped, ready to spot that drop. Probe looks like he might want to take a base in the far north as well and just play the most defensive, careful Protoss versus Zerg, and that's what Probe's known for. He's not really a game finisher. Like, when he gets ahead, he follows the Artosis rule every time. He goes, nope, gonna get further ahead and just hedge my bets. Never wants to take the aggressive risk against Zerg. He'll do it against Terran, he'll do it against Protoss, but very rarely in PvZ.
Gonna stick a few zealots in here. He's actually already picked off 3 queens from the initial harass as Demi moved out on the map, and these couple of zealots just moving out now. He's gonna continue moving forward to the 4th base. 1 overload falls in the meantime while he comes in for another drop. Bit of Roach Hydra here trying to clean up these zealots, but not actually enough just yet. He brings in the rest of the force to try and clean that up, and at the same time he gets to close the distance on these lurkers. The Spine's not going to be able to help him out too much either.
Oh my lord, Spines and Lurkers pretty good against everything except Immortals. The Immortals just blitzed that army, absolutely crushed it. The Zealots warping in the main again. Storms defend the south side of the main base, and it's utter chaos. I was saying Probe should really be exerting pressure. Hey, he went and did it basically flawlessly. Zealots in the main, defended the counter drop, pushed through the north at the same time, takes out multiple hatches, tons of economy, trades so well against the army. Now, he is caught out here with no storm, so we might want to see a recall, but ooh, the Hydra's coming in. They're hungry.
Uh-oh. Oh my goodness, please recall. There's so many Immortals here.
Oh my lord. Probe getting caught out on the map here. A massive mess up from the Protoss player. That's what we talk about. When you get caught with no storm, it's a real disaster.
That was a nice storm, but he unfortunately doesn't really have anything to capitalize on that. And he's running all the way home, loses most of his Immortals, and the other forces lost all the Templar as well. But carriers being made 3 at a time now, not out just yet, not enough to be useful. This Oracle barely escapes, and he's got to rely on these cannons and what he has left with this mothership to hold off this huge attack. There's still lurkers in the mix. Another great couple of storms forces Demi back for a second, but he's still got a lot of firepower here.
Yeah, I mean, Probe's immortal count is so low and so damaged right now, and there we go, his storms are gone. Those lurkers took out his last 2 High Templar that had energy, and that's it. It's just a mothership, a bunch of Immortals and Archons versus a ton of Roach Hydra. The cloak is doing work. There's only 1 Overseer left. There's still a few Immortals fighting very well, wearing down Demi. Demi has less economy. He's now below on army supply. He's got to break this base with this army or he's down and out. And the mothership, it's taken a lot of damage. It's getting low, but the Immortals swinging in as well, damaging the Hydralisks. The back and forth here, there's only a single lurker. Demilove desperately trying to crack through. He's got a lot of money in the bank, but it's only Roaches rallying across because he's taken so much damage on his infrastructure. The 2 carriers come out, and that will turn the tides. Probe defends and crushes it in the end there after a dicey moment as his retreating Immortals do get smacked down. Probe, though, takes the 1-0 lead. A very good start to the series.
GG. Very well played by Probe. I mean, so passive for so long, and then suddenly turns up the heat. And you said it while it was happening, but that was really a flawless execution to defend the drop in the main, to have Zealots in your opponent's main, and also take out a 4th base at the same time. Really, really well done. He got a lot of lurkers killed there too. And if he hadn't managed to get the lurkers down, could you imagine what that follow-up push from Demi would have looked like? Because there would have been so much more to take out.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure he would have kept a hold of that 4th base. So brilliant move there by Probe.
You know, it's crazy the difference that happens there, right? Where lurkers on their own against Immortals are just terrible. But if you've got like a few Hydras, Roaches, Lings in front, like suddenly those Immortals just can't close with them. And it turns the other way and the lurkers massacre the Immortals. But suddenly it's like too much Hydras have to go to defend the main. Too many Hydras and Roaches are trying to counter drop Probe. They're not there. And as the Zerg, you're like, I've got 4 Spines, a Spore, and 12 lurkers in a row. No one would attack into this. No, apparently Immortals Size Storm with 3 observers. Like Probe realized all the supporting units pulled back and he jumped on it. So great understanding of the situation he was in from Probe. And I was, I was getting on they're like, come on, finish it off, get on the map. I was kind of criticizing Probe, and then he went and did it like just a little bit later than I wanted him to. So hats off to Probe there for taking control of that matchup so well.
Yeah, really awesome game. And we'll be hopping into Redshift for the second map to see if Demi can even it up or if Probe's going to take it with the 2-0 and advance to play against Mio Micah, who's sitting in that next match waiting. And we're actually moving along a lot in the lower bracket just while we get this game started, folks. I mean, Azure's down there waiting. We've got
Oh wow, it has been some quick matches, hasn't it?
yeah, man. We've got Pez versus Fuely down there. We've seen a bit of Fuely today. Haven't seen Pez, but he's a fantastic Protoss. So I think PvP is a different beast. Maybe that'll be a tougher one for Fuely. And we've got Peppy, Crimson, and Risky still alive down there as well. So starting to get to that seeding stage where the players are really just trying to get the best result they can so that tomorrow they can have that really good start to the day.
So I think losers round 3 is where the cutoff for qualification for tomorrow is, or is that losers round 4 actually? Because it's top 14 from today.
I believe it's round 4.
4 plus 8 players there is 12. So I think maybe there's elimination matches between those, or tiebreak matches between the players in losers round 3, just to find the last ones.
Yeah,
Either way, sorry, I'll figure it out afterwards.
They will need to figure out like a 13th, 14th, or something like that.
Because there's 4 potential players to pick from for that. But either way, like to see Peppy take down Igas in the lower bracket with 2-0. Oof.
Oh man, Peppy's looking good. I really hoped to catch some of his games, but haven't been so lucky just yet because we've been spoiled actually with the games in the upper bracket too.
Oh yeah. Speaking of those games, guys, we're going to be hopping back in and continuing this series here. It is red shift, and down here in the bottom left-hand side in the red, the Zerg player, he is Demi.
And in the top left in the blue, this is Probe.
So I can't help but think about what the players do, and you know, I feel like this map is like the scene in Aladdin where you go into the cave of treasures and wonders, but you're really not meant to touch any of the gold or everything's going to turn to lava and death. And I wonder if either of the players is going to be the monkey and it's going to reach out and, you know, grab up a fistful of jewels and then get punished for it. So far, looks like neither player going to fall for the trap of taking the gold expansion.
Yeah, keeping it chill for the moment. I'd also, if I was a Zerg, be a little bit scared of getting cannoned or something if I was brave enough to take that gold base. Although Probe he just doesn't strike me as that kind of player at all, but you never know.
Yeah, the Probe's going to come in and scout a very normal opening here, so I think we might just see a very straightforward game for now. Definitely Roach Hydra has been what Demi's shown before, alternating those drops, right? We saw that in that last game. So I'm thinking about this map in terms of those drops right now, and I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm thinking about how you can utilize those, because you do get spread quite far as the Protoss player. If you end up taking the far right-hand side base, say Probe takes the top right, drop into the main base can always get you. Potentially like a drop in your gold, even if you haven't taken it, and running up the ramp there with a ton of Roach Hydra. There's some interesting angles that can happen on this map, so very curious to see. Often, you know, the matchup we see there, and we saw both players just play it stock standard, was like the Zergs running around with Roach Hydra Lurker looking for an angle, looking to catch the Protoss out of position, and whenever they're out of position, the Zerg kind of pounces in or gets the Lurkers sieged up in range of a Nexus and says, haha, you've actually got to fight into me now because I'm damaging your economy. And the Protoss is like, I've just got heaps of High Templar, lots of cannons, lots of batteries, and they just want to camp until they get very close to maxed out. They want to just sit there, defend, and their aim is to just always land the Psystorms and the Roaches and the Hydras to make sure they have detection on all sides. And if they ever suddenly say don't have detection, the Lurkers take them out. If they don't have Storm, the Hydras and the Roaches just swell in. There's too many of them, they get taken out. If a drop sneaks into their production and they don't have a recall or units in position, they get taken out. So the Protoss really wants to block all of these sort of maneuvers. In a front-on battle, the Protoss is almost always favored once we hit the later stages of the mid-game. It's always the Storm, the Immortals, the Archons that are stronger in a direct engagement out in the open. But suddenly, as the Lurker count gets higher, that turns around. As we get Adaptive Talons, the Lurkers get a bit more strength. So there's this very interesting dynamic where it's up to Demi to say, hey, how quickly do I go to Hive? Am I going to try to force the issue on layer tech, really commit to the drops, the Roaches, the Hydras, and the Lurkers en masse? Or am I going to try and tech up a little bit higher and then make it work from there?
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, and I think it's a very interesting map. when you think about that. You know, Zerg never wants to run through a choke at a Protoss, but you know, the Protoss is also probably not silly enough to get caught out in the open too often. Things like Storm and Force Fields become a real big problem when you're trying to attack in. But then, you know, like you mentioned, the Lurkers really even the playing field there, I think, because you can similarly position those and be like, you want to come at me in this choke? Like, feel free. Have fun, my dude. But, yeah, I guess we'll see how these guys' tech trees start to take shape as the game progresses. We're starting to finally get a little bit of that harassment. Demi's trying to keep tabs on what's going on. Phoenix is going to take this out, but at least now, having seen the Oracle and seeing this Phoenix, it's like, okay, cool, not another thing building, just contending with these two for now. But these Adepts also being super annoying behind this mid line.
Yeah, they can just run in, shoot a drone, pull back, run in, shoot a drone, pull back. But the Zerglings are going to come around. They're going to take care of that. And there we go. Nice clean up for Demi. And I think the way Demi's playing this makes sense. If you're going to take the gold, you really got to utilize it. And oh my lord, gets the Oracle as well? That's huge.
The dream.
I mean, that's amazing because this is like a very fragile build for Demi. Demi's going mass upgraded +1 Ling and really just wants Probe to take a third out in the open, something that he can jump on as a player. But Probe's not going to do it. Probe's going to take his own gold base as his third. Demi might actually assault the natural wall and just try to take down the Robo in the gateway at some point because you need to just mass Zerglings from here. If you don't mass Zerglings and bring plenty of queens down, actually there's only 4 queens. Zealot Archon's a huge problem if you've only got a few queens. I like the Spine Crawler in the gold base. You need extra safety here as Demi going for the Baneling Nest as well as the Lair now. Sees the Archon starting to morph in. It's going to go for the natural wall. I think he's going to bust the Robo. I think that's a good choice as well. I think you've got to do that just to pull warp-ins to that side. But he's already spotted it with the Observer. And, oh, is Probe going to see? The Observer doesn't see the Baneling morph.
So close, though. I'm not sure if he saw any of the number of Lings that are sort of being swing past. I think they're just on the very edge of that vision. So he's really not quite able to see this going on. The first Banelings are going to start waddling forward. There's one Adept in the wall.
There's
already
another
structure behind it.
Already. And a recall. Oh, my lord. This is not... Yeah, I mean, the Robo can go down. Kill the Robo. Get the Robo out. Demi can definitely get the Robo there, but I guess, you know, the Archons are going to come out. Now the opportunity is gone. Their worker count is very close on both sides, but the gold has been mining this whole time. Demi's got a 4th up as well. Do we have a Hydralisk, Dan? No, just starting now. So that Hydra Tech, it's a while away. Demi needs to squeeze in another fat round of drones, but has got to be worried about the potential for an all-in. Has got to be worried about Archons and Zealots, and I think that Observer caught another glimpse of these Banelings morphing on the offense.
Yeah, not able to do anything here at the back of that mineral line. These Lings are kind of like, damn, what do we do now? So he's going to go in for round 2 with a few Banes. He can definitely squish through that if the sentry's not paying attention and there's no force field, but... Yeah, it's kind of... It's a tricky spot to get through, and the Archons are back here too. They're going to take out the Baneling before he even gets to close the distance here.
Oh my lord, a misclick! They pass to the other side. So many Lings and Banes go down, and... Probe is in control of this right now. And by the way, you can detonate Banelings manually behind the mineral line. Oh my lord, even fighting the Zealots. I mean, the Zealots had already cleaned up the creep tombs, but yeah, the Baneling's gonna go for a manual detonate. Manual detonate behind the mineral line, but they only get 3 probes. That is a cute maneuver, but you never get a money hit by manually detonating those Banelings back there. So even though you can reach the probes, you're only ever gonna hit 2 or 3 at a time. It's really tough.
Yeah, well, he didn't have much else he could do with those at that point in time, so fair enough, I suppose. Free spread, enough to connect these bases, but not much to give him vision here as he starts to churn out a whole bunch of Hydras. We got 11 coming out right in the nick of time to deal with this push, but he's still got a very squishy army against a bunch of charge lots and big beefy Archons, so let's see how his defense goes for him. It's going to be a hard one. Guardian Shield is up as he moves forward, leaving those Archons in the front. And he has boxed Demi back into a corner.
Wow, the Baneling hits in the mineral line are pretty huge, but those Archons are still there. Remember, these Hydras don't have the range upgrade. They don't actually shoot that far. Good pullback to the mineral line here. I mean, if Demi hangs on, Demi's got the better long-term composition, but you've got to survive to get there. Right now, the Zealots and the Archons reign supreme. The Banelings are gone, and when there's no Banelings, Hydralisks just look like a tasty dinner to those Zealots. They slice and dice, they roll in there. And it just looks like a little bit too much Protoss there. Pro blocking Demi loves counterattack attempts, blocks it off, goes for the brutal counterattack, and what decisive play there from Probe, using his own gold mineral boost to just warp in endless zealots.
Yes, indeed. Beautifully done. Shut down Demi at just about every turn there. And he comes out victorious at the end of the day. So very clean games from him. He's looking really good. And I know we're a little bit worried earlier because he seems to have like a mental block against Zerg. He's like having a bit of that rage beast swell up inside of him about the Zerg players and having to play that matchup. But I mean, with a performance like that, having 2-0 Igers as well, he's looking pretty good.
Yeah, that was definitely a very nice win there for Probe. I think he's looking comfortable. You know,
Yeah.
I think Probe's struggling with those top 20 GM Korean Zerg players he's playing on the ladder a little bit. Definitely when he runs into like Rogue or someone, I'm sure. But he's coming in here with decisive plans, clean plans, and he's playing quite well reflexively as well. So, you know, adapting to what's going on, playing very safe, playing very precise. That's the Probe we know and love. And he's going to need it in his next series up against Mio Micah.
Oh yeah.
The meme maker, the Mio Mima. He's absolutely, you know, just crushed his way through Azure, crushed his way through Pezaperi. Mio Micah did take out Risky earlier, so he's had a little bit of Zerg vs Zerg warm up. But yeah, ZVP took out Perry, Pezaperi. Did drop one map. I'm not sure. I haven't seen too much of Mio Micah's Zerg vs Protoss in the last couple of weeks. Like a month ago, I had like a few weeks where I was playing so many games against Mio Micah on the ladder. I was enjoying what all these pro players get to enjoy of just getting ravaged by the craziest attacks you've ever seen. Just getting destroyed by them. But I haven't seen him recently, and I know he changes his strategies on a weekly basis. So really curious to see what.
Isn't that awesome though? It changes it on a weekly basis. It's one of the things that makes Mio Micah such a fantastic play to watch. Like you never know what to expect. He's just so much fun.
I feel like he just wakes up. He just like doesn't even think about it. He just starts playing, and a different build comes out when he puts his hands on the keyboard and mouse. So you're like, did you even plan this? Like, or did this just come to you in the moment?
Yeah, he's just a natural man. So cool. Probe vs Mio will be a match that we do on stream. And Demi floats down to the lower bracket. He's going to be up against Fuely. And it looks like Risky did advance over Crimson. He's up against Peppy. Winner of that will go up against Azure. So down to the last few players now as we try and get those seeds finalized for these guys. So without further ado, guys, we will take a quick break. Thank you again to our wonderful observer, Insano, and our wonderful sponsor, Macca's, who are here once again supporting StarCraft 2 in our region. And we will take a break, come back to you with more StarCraft very shortly. Go away.